Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Plus3 Futures and Commodities Show. My name is Ben Maldonado, and we are recording here on Friday, the 10th of March. We took a week off. I was skiing, and Barry was hiking in the mountains, so it was a little mountain retreat for both of us. How you doing, Barry?
Doing pretty well.
That's good. Certainly, the market's kicked up this week. Usually, I expect when we go away and take time off that the markets do what they're
Mm,
doing this week, but at least we were here to see it.
that's right.
Um, the activity is heating up, to say the least. On
Just
today's
starting on
show,
Friday, right?
yeah,
Has to wait till Friday.
always get everybody emotions all ginned up for the 2-day weekend, and then Sunday night and Monday we see what people do.
Hmm. But
Today's show,
Bitcoin didn't let us down.
nope, it did not. Let's quickly talk about what we're going to talk about on today's show. I'm going to talk about nat gas, cocoa, and coffee. As he does every week, Barry's going to cover what we call the big five. He's going to do the ES. He's going to do bonds. He's going to do gold. He's going to do crude oil. He's going to do copper, and then he's going to do the dollar and the euro. So it's a big show. Let's jump right in on Bitcoin. As they used to say in the old serial shows, when we last left our hero, we were here messing around with the full square, and then we started getting under it, and we said, well, if we can't get back over that half square,
Hmm.
we're going to test the full square. And here we are today,
Didn't take that long.
and look where we're closing and hanging out.
Hmm.
It opened there, and we are closing right here. So
Right.
this is the spot where the next decision point will get made. If we should lose it, get stuck under it, then we're looking down here at the 52-week lows, the November, December lows. If we can stay on top of it, maybe we can chop around a while, or we're going to bounce between the half square and the full square. But right now, with this, failure here and the strong push down, odds are favoring right now that we might not be able to hold this level. By the way, all the levels that we talk about are on a Google Doc spreadsheet, which we'll post the link to when we post the video tomorrow morning. For Bitcoin, this is right around 19,900, and up here we were right around 24.4.
Mhm.
Those were the key numbers.
Actually, I like that 1/8 line right under that, because if you look to the left, it caught all that, August through July through October action, right? So I
Right.
think that little zone is pretty good from the full square to that.
Yeah. So you could say 19, roughly 19.9 to 18.8.
Right.
Looks like that's
Right.
the area to watch.
Hmm.
But you can see how, in using these squares and using the levels, it helps where the decision points are, and then based on what price does there, what's more likely to happen. When we got stuck under here, it's not that we're using a crystal ball or anything. We just know that until you get above that, the odds are supporting and in favor of testing this full square. And there you go.
Yeah.
It's a perfect example of how to use the squares. Well, let me throw it over to you. I know we had a big week in a lot of different assets, so let's jump into it and see what's going on.
All right, let's do that.
Man, look at how it failed at that full square. That was your tell,
Mhm.
right?
Right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect setup.
So yeah, yep. And this is what we talked about the week before still held up this week, but, because we were still stuck in the same bracket.
Mm-hmm.
We left it off with this 40-38, like 40-40, 40-50, where the 60-degree line is. At this point of the cycle, we really had to settle above that. And if we didn't do it, we talked about how we're probably going to go back and test 39.16. And well, that's pretty much what happened. We couldn't really get above that. We reversed, and we ended up yesterday pretty much on 39.16, and today we just broke down. And now that we're on the way, Looks like the next level is 3,800, which we've had here for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And that corresponds with, this basing over here we had earlier, and there's some other stuff there. And, geometry is crazy, but if you look at this leg coming down, if you take the ABCD, that ends up about 3,800 also.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Let me see.
It's funny. I tweeted something this afternoon on my 4-hour, Barry. I had us 90 down at the low.
To here, right?
Yeah. Yep. To that point.
Yeah, that's right. We're 90 down from the high.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another scale. So here we have, right at 3,800 is where the ABCD comes down to. And well, I would expect it to get there, and if we're lucky, it'll stop there. We'll see how it goes.
That'd be perfect on your half square doing an
Oh
ABC,
man, that would be
throwing a little false break from
throwing a little
the
false
December.
break. Exactly. Just cut this out there,
Right.
and we'll go.
Right.
So we'll see how that pans out. But that's something we got to notice. We're always watching for these ABCDs to see how they play out.
Mm-hmm.
And this one would make sense, and it'll still keep us in the range, right?
Yep.
But I'll tell you, this 38 is really kind of critical, and it's even more critical that if we do get a bounce off of it, that we can clear 39.16 in a hurry, because otherwise I'm afraid we're going to be stuck under it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And if 3,800 goes, then we probably have a little bit more to go. I'm not even going to look at that number yet, but we'll see.
It's interesting too, Barry. When I was looking at my weekly, when we were preparing, my weekly full squares at 38.60, and look at where we're closing.
Yeah, pretty good.
Right there.
Yep. It's a good spot, no question about it. This right there, that low we had. But it just seems like this kind of a weak close. We'll see if we're going to tap in here or not.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to see. But the 39.16 next week, 3,900 is important. But I think this 39.16 is critical that we get above that somehow.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't, I think we're going to continue to be weak if we're trading below that. And the next block might be between 38 and 39. That's a possibility. But 38 does hold a lot, right? We have the ABCD coming down. We have this a half the square, and we have some other support there. So it's kind of a big deal. So we'll see how it lines up.
So you like 3,800 as your support for the week?
It's very good support, and the key is, the thing is, it's so good
mm-hmm.
that if it gets taken out, then we can expect at least another 100 points, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the other side. And at a minimum, and if we get down there, then we're probably going to go see 36, 20 area.
Mm-hmm.
That's how good good meaning it's a critical level. And if we hold it, then we have to see if we're going to sort of consolidate back in the same zone, or if we're going to take out 39.19 and hurry about and back up.
Sure.
So either way, but both of these numbers are critical. 38, the critical thing there is to see if we can hold it or not. And if we don't, then there's nothing really in between for a couple of 100 points.
Sure.
Yeah, sure, we can have little minor supports, but it's really going to makes more sense at that point to go full circle.
Yep.
We don't really go up all the way on a square, then come all the way back, and not stopping at 50% would also mean that we're going to go much lower. So looking at the weekly, well, let's, one of the things with weekly is to look at the pivot. So, we had a low in here, high, pullback low, and then this high came in pretty well. We called it out when it came in. So now we're basically looking for the low to come in. And I thought this 38.96 would have been a good, that is good support. It would have been good on this cycle to have it stop above that, and that would give us another leg.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that we took it out, this is, I think we're kind of weak now. So basis weak, there could be more to go than the ABCD. So there are other things setting up here. And if it does, well, it's all opportunity. So let's see how it sets up.
Right.
And eventually, we have the big time support is 35.70, 36.5 around that area. So we'll see how that plays out. But for now, go ahead.
I'd say when you look at the weekly, look at price has been just in this chop zone for so long.
Right.
over about a year,
Yeah. Right here.
almost. Yeah.
From May to May. Looks like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of short-term trading. That's why probably we've been doing well because, it's easier to trade using our methods, right? We're not just
Right.
doing one thing. It's just coming off the pivots.
And smash and grab when you got
Smash and grab,
profit.
man. Especially today. Did you see this stuff? Oh my God.
Wow.
Intraday.
Yep.
So anyway, so the point of this is that we had last pivot was a high, and we really don't have a confirmed one for the low yet, which
Mhm.
means we can expect, a little bit more weakness. Probably when this is all said and done.
Right.
So that's it for the S&P.
Hmm.
Let's move on to bonds.
What a move today.
Yeah, well,
This was a sign of panic right there. I
Yeah.
mean, look at that bid.
Mm-hmm. So you thought it was flight to quality, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
It sure looked like that to me. Like
Mhm.
some people got spooked and just rushed to treasuries.
Just a little bit.
I mean, 3 points on the 30-year,
Mhm.
a
So
point and a
now-
half, a point and a half on the 10-year just today.
Right. So getting back to the chart now, we had support down here at the full square, 270 degrees down from the high.
Mhm.
And we were looking for a little bit of a correction.
Right.
So much for that little bit. Got a little expanded today, but we went right up to the quarter of a square and stopped
Mhm.
right at that 129 and a half or so, right? Right
Yep.
there. And our max, and there, I can see that we have a lot of overhead coming off of the past price action here. Right in here. And we just stopped right under it. And the top of that block would be 132. So I'm afraid we're probably going to probe around here for a little bit longer. Either way, probing, I know the overall trend is down, but these are opportunities to get short at some point. So you're going to have
You
to
think
look
it can hit your upper fork there, your upper fork line, which would be up near 132. It's a little below, but
Yeah. Well, originally when I put it on, I didn't think it'll get past the middle, to be honest.
I know. I know.
Now I'm looking at the upper. It could. I think anything below 132 is okay because that's where
Mhm.
the whole thing is setting up. So yeah, we could probably hit that. And
Yeah.
but this 130, where it stopped right around 130 is also important. So
Big resistance. Yep.
yeah. So we have a couple of points to go. It's an important point here. So it's possible we're done. When it's a panic, it's hard to say, when it stops, but we were looking at a counter trend. We got it a little more than I expected, but now we're hitting the upper limits of it. So looking for it to consolidate and turn back down. We'll see if it happens next week or not.
Hmm.
Looking at the weekly bonds, doesn't look so bad, but we're in the box, right?
Yeah, it looks like a chop zone.
It's a chop. It is a chop zone, and we're in this box now.
Hmm.
And the upper end is really the right around 132. So yeah,
Yep.
we could get up there, or anything less would do it too.
Hmm.
This 130 is also a really important point. And so either way, we'll see where it bounces off and comes, because we're not looking to trade this as a long trade. We're on it, still on the downtrend, and we're looking for it to be on the short side and looking at these as reactions, right?
Absolutely.
So that's kind of next. We have the one that's taking a rest
Just keeps winding up, man, building up pressure.
and narrowing. This is
Yes, it is narrowing.
but it looks like a break to the upside. So don't let it fool you.
Hmm.
And if you're looking at, energy related stocks, get to watch this downdraft. It might be a good opportunity. So at least I'm watching those.
Yeah.
Not much to say on this chart. 73, 82, 83. Well, till it breaks out, we'll just have to keep watching it.
Keep watching.
And
That's
I
it.
did talk about this 90, where, we talked about how a consolidation, when it gets, close to a 90 or around 90, it sort of breaks out. So,
Yep.
So we're in that zone now. So this is not the time to fall asleep, just like we talked about Bitcoin earlier,
Mhm.
about a month ago.
As soon as you're bored with it and think nothing can happen, it comes.
Yeah. And crude is not one of the things you want to get bored with
No,
at this time, right?
that's right.
Now,
It's a perfect picture telling you why you stay out of triangles.
yes. and sideways markets, right?
Oh God, they just kill you.
Mm-hmm. And it's, the main thing here is we had a high, we had a low, and it's really not pulling through, but it's consolidating above the low and above these old highs.
Mhm.
So it's in a good spot, relatively speaking, and it was building sort of it consolidated up here earlier. We're kind of in that same mode.
Mhm.
So it looks okay for now. Now, if we start, getting under this 75, then it's a little bit of going to be suspicious.
Correct.
But for now, we're kind of holding up there. We're really, really in a tight bracket. So I'm expecting it to continue that way. And the way it looks now, it looks like we're going to break somehow to the upside. So we're watching that. Next, we have gold. Talk about flight to quality and stability, right?
Mhm.
1814 was our support, and we tested it a couple of times over the last month or so. We were looking for it to go up and test 1887, and if we can somehow get above that, go on higher. So 1887 would be the target for this leg. See if we
Mhm.
can get up in there. And if we can hold up here, then we can probably set up another leg. But for now, it's possible that we consolidate here a little bit longer.
Mhm.
So not much to add.
Yeah, that 1814, 1820 area is super important support there.
Yeah, and if you look at the weekly, you can see the similar picture. We have our band set up here, the resistance zone up here between 1881 and 1919 basis weekly. And we broke a little lower, went about halfway between the points, and we're rallying up to check that 1881 level basis weekly. So we'll see how it gets in there. There's a lot of overhead here, and if this is real, I would expect to see a test of at least 1919 before that.
Mhm.
So we'll see.
Pushing through there is the key to telling us that the next leg's up starting.
Yeah, exactly. It would have been nice if we came down here and then reversed. It was kind of
Mhm.
halfway. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yep.
So that's gold. We have copper. Copper, we left off looking for this correction to finish.
That's ABCD. Yep.
Yep, ABCD coming down, and we're below the half square,
Mhm.
which is the dashed line. So it's kind of in a weak position. It looks like it's just going to slowly come down and tap that. So we're going to wait. It's perfectly sideways here. So we're just going to wait till it comes into some kind of a corner before
And it's sitting on top of those previous highs too, which is bullish longer term.
over above these, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's good. Even coming down to here, it's okay. It's
Exactly.
direction. The key level here is this, down here, 374, 370, 374. That's major support. If we take that out, we could have some kind of whole another thing happening here.
Agreed.
All right, moving on to the dollar. Nope, the weekly, right? I mean, the sideways is very clear.
Yep.
We've had about a month and a half, a little bit over a month of sideways. So it's just consolidating. And
it almost looks like it's repeating the pattern off the low too. Look, it went up and then sideways, pulled back sideways, and then went again.
Which month? Where about?
That low, that like mid 22 low.
Right here,
So
coming off here and just pull back here. Yeah.
And then it sideways for a month or 6 weeks and then went again.
So here the key, basis this weekly chart, the key level would be this 3.9. Yeah, 3.9 would be the level to be above if it's if it's in a strong position. Looks like it's bracketing in this sort of the quarter square box. And that looks okay for now. Like we're bracketing in there, right?
Yep. It's a good visualization of where we've been.
So as long as we're holding above the lows, the bottom of the box, I think we're in decent shape. And let it consolidate. That's what builds up the momentum, right? And build it up, and it runs. And the overall uptrend is intact in the bigger picture. So it's okay. Next, we go on to the dollar. Bit of a panic of sorts
today. Yep.
So going back, well, when we look at the weekly, we'll talk about the swings, but basically, here's a high, low, and as long as his low's in place, we really didn't have a decent high come in. So we're looking for all this price action to be corrections on sort of a sloppy leg up.
Mm-hmm.
And just for reference, as long as we're above 90 coming off the high, I think dollar's in a strong spot. So
Yeah,
about
that'd be bullish.
Yeah, 103 and a quarter or so. It's in good shape. So we're well above that. So we're looking for the long side and looking at the weekly dollar. So weekly, it's a way to look at the pivots and remind yourself, where we've been and where we're going, what happened last. And just to make a long story short, we had a low here, high, and then the pullback low. Now, after this low, we didn't quite get into a good price and time up here to square out. So we also made a new high this week, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the trend is intact and the weekly looks a lot stronger than the sloppy sort of a description I gave the daily. So it's okay. It's moving higher and we'll continue to watch it. And I think short side dollar trade is a little bit dangerous. So we're watching the long side for now till another pivot on the weekly comes in, marking a high, right?
Exactly.
So for now, the low looks good. So we're going higher. It kind of got to the half square, but really didn't have price in there for now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's go back and look at the euro. Not the same kind of play. It's still consolidating sort of a weak spot. This 108 was a key level. This high came in, we called that out. So, we had a low, high, and there's further to go, seems like. And we're holding up, around these lows and consolidating. So it looks like more sideways, more consolidating. But I don't see it low put in and it's ready to rally and imagine another big leg at this point. So it's a little bit of a sleeper, but you got to watch it, right? To the short side. Anyway, short side setups are what we're looking for. Next, looking at the weekly euro. There we go. A little bit of sideways there, Ben.
Yeah. 3 weeks of it.
So basically, if you look at the weekly swings, we have a high, low. We call that this high. We don't have a low yet. So I'm guessing it would be natural to think we're going to at least go up and tap the square where we had these other lows come in. And the lows here came in at a kind of a familiar spot, right? It's 105 area where we had lows in 2015. And what else can I say? Well, short side signals for now.
That's right.
Because the last pivot was a high,
Right. Wait for those short side setups.
Yeah. Not much to do. And the same thing here. We have a pivot high. So we're waiting for the pivot low to come in. I forget to tell people that, but that's part of the reason for looking at the weeklies to remind us of the bigger trend, the bigger swings. So I just want to make sure I cover that every week. Not much else. What else here? Nope, that's it. Well, that's all I got. Let me put it back to you. We can cover the commodities and
excellent.
Thanks. All right, Ben.
Another thing closing right on the line. Never make it easy, do they?
Nope. It's like a Friday thing.
Oh man, it's crazy. Either they close up here on the line up here, or they close here, or you see the close there. It's awesome though, because it shows you the power of these squares and how they are really important decision points. So NQs, just to go back and review the story a little bit for the last couple of weeks, we were dancing with this line here, this 50% line, call it 12,500. That was the key marker. Could we stay on top of it? If so, we were going to go up and test the full square. If not, we were going to go down and test the full square at the bottom. Well, we see what happened. We came down, tested here on the lows in early March last week, March 2nd, then bounced up, stopped at the full square, and now we're right back down to the we stopped at the half square, and now we're right back down to the full square.
Right.
So for the next week, here's your key number.
Mm-hmm.
Call it 11,800, 11,880, 11,900 in that area. Above it, and we either consolidate like this, or we go up and test the full square. If we get stuck below it, it opens up the selling, down to this next half square, which is around 11,280. So there's it's your key number right here.
Mm-hmm. And the lower half square, what's the price there?
Here
Just
we're
in
talking
case number.
yeah, this is 11,280.
Okay.
And up here we're at like 11, call it 11,900.
Right. Okay.
So overall, let's let price tell us what it's going to do. If we hold this, then this can be just a pullback and we're going to push again.
Mm-hmm.
If we get stuck under, it means, something finished here and we're starting a new leg down. So we'll watch that and we'll see.
Yep.
Anything else to add, Barry, on that?
No, but other than, you have that same ABCD working to the downside that I marked off. So that's a potential support level. If the full square doesn't hold. So we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
And this area, not only is the full square important, you can see structurally, here's where the previous highs were.
Exactly.
In November, December. So it's a key area. So let's let price tell us, what's more likely to happen based on how it reacts around this line.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into the commodities. Before I get in, we're going to look at cocoa, coffee, and then nat gas. I did want to give everybody a heads up. Wheat and corn had some serious weakness for the last couple weeks. They came into squares, and we saw a pretty big reversal today, intraday reversal. They were all down 1% or 2% and ended up 1% or 2%, wheat and corn. So they are on the radar. They are not set up yet. Most likely, if we get a setup during the week, I'll tweet something out, and most likely they'll end up on next week's show as something actionable. But put them on your radar, wheat and corn, especially since they were weaker. Soybeans, which is interesting, have held up better. It's still in the chop and the sideways thing, but if wheat and corn are turning, soybeans is probably not far behind. So keep an eye on the grains. I'll keep you posted during the week if I see something set up. And as I said, we'll probably review them on next week's show. So let's go to our first commodity here. So cocoa is the first one I wanted to look at. The reason being is we've had this nice move up off the bottom, sort of a textbook, level to level move as it, pushed up, fought at a level, captured it, pushed up to the next level, fought at it, captured it. And now we're pulling back here on a full square. The full square here is important because it was, previous high here, previous highs over here and over here. But even if we pull back to the 8th square or the trend line, still bullish in my view.
Right.
This was a, multi-month consolidation. If we pull back into the middle of it and then go again, yeah, I think it's bullish, and I think, watch your 4 hours and your lower time frames for bullish setups and reversals here. Or if you wanted to stay just with the daily, just look for a daily reversal as a key that the next leg up may be starting here. Anything you have to add in cocoa?
No, not particularly. No, I mean,
cocoa's good by itself. It doesn't really need a lot of additives, but go ahead.
Exactly. Well, I'll tell you, this pullback is going to be interesting to watch, mainly because that big 2-month consolidations, right? So if we can get up to about the quarter of the square, that's still very healthy, and that would give us another chance. But otherwise, we'll have to. It might be a longer consolidation. So it's either shorter consolidation if it's higher, like within the next quarter square, and if it gets, a little bit lower, then I think maybe a longer consolidation's in order. But the stair stepping was just perfect. Look at that. The 5/8. Yeah, exactly. That line right there. So
here.
So it looks like a normal. It looks like a normal pullback. We did have a potential false break set up, so we saw that coming. So it's there.
Yep.
at the high. So
For sure. Yeah, this little move here.
right, exactly.
So it's worth watching again, even if you don't trade it, watching how the pullbacks happen and watching, how it evolves and the trade evolves and the correction evolves will help you, when you're watching other markets or things that you trade regularly. So this is one that is had a bullish move. We're starting to correct. We want to see how the correction plays out to see if it warrants getting involved again.
Right.
All right, let's go to the next one, which is coffee, doing something very similar, as you can see. We tracked this thing into the lows, had a nice square out here, and had a beautiful bullish move coming out of here. Ended on a half square, sort of time and price here because you can see the vertical was there too. So we had time and price there at the high. We've pulled back right to where it should, which is the full square and a site of previous highs. So again, can it pull back an eighth and still be bullish? Yes. 2 days, Thursday and Friday, the lows were right on the full square. So we want to watch and see, can we get a daily reversal here where we take out these highs? That would be super bullish. If we get more of a pullback, again, you may have to jump down to a lower time frame and look for a bullish setup with some momentum turning, because momentum clearly turned at that high there. But it's a bullish setup. It's early in the pattern, right? Here was the low. This was the first push up. If you call this one leg, here comes leg two. Depending how we pull back and set up, we could be getting ready for leg three here, which would be a big move in coffee.
Right.
Anything else to add here?
No, we're good. That's a good cover.
Okay. Coffee looks good. And the last one is one we've been talking about for weeks, and that's nat gas.
Yep.
A lot like coffee, we were following this on the way down, looking for a good spot where we saw a reversal. We had a nice square out here. We had a reversal on the half square, pushed up into the full square, didn't make it, which is not surprising on the first push, and now we're pulling back. So what are we watching for here? Watching to see where this pullback ends. Does it stop at the half square, which is, call it 223? If we do, that would be a great spot. Do we come down and make some sort of higher low in reverse? That would be another great spot. Or let's say we come down and make a lower low. Do we clear the low, or do we do sort of a false break and move out? So there's a lot of different ways this can turn bullish. Now, the way it can turn bearish is if it just makes a lower low, clears this low, and keeps going. But I'm of the mind that we're still bullish here. As long as we put in a higher low, things are in place to, worst case scenario, do an ABC up, best case scenario, potentially catch a wave 3 higher. Where are you on that, gas?
Well, I think the pullback is the key here. I'm watching the same thing. And well, all we can do is watch it, see if we get there.
That's it.
At this point, yeah.
I mean, it's going to tell us one of two things. This low was good because we make a higher low, or this low was not it because we make a lower low and clear it.
Well, the thing is that low had, I remember, I can't remember my chart now, but I know we had some kind of a square.
We did have a square here
at that low, right? So
yes, we did.
So I think if this square is good, then it ought to hold, and we should, that the low that we squared out should hold, is what I'm saying.
Correct.
And ideally, if we can hold above like 230, we're in good shape. So where does 230 come up on your chart? It's
right about there.
A little higher.
Right there. Right 230, right there.
Yeah. So if we can hold above that, of course, knowing natural gas probably gonna, poke a little lower, and then
right. I mean, I was just looking at my notes, Barry. The daily square was 180 by 45, and on a 4-hour we did a 144 by 180. So those are decent squares at the low. Let's see if it's going to hold.
Yep.
And that's about it. As I said, still watching cotton. Cotton's doing something similar to crude in that it's just been going sideways for a long time. Today it had a fairly big dump on to the downside. So I'm watching to see if we get a false break setup sort of situation there. Gold and silver, you talked about gold. So, with the commodities, it's just looking at the individual charts and seeing if we get the setups for them, because they're all, they've all been correcting for 6 to 12 to 18 months. And we're getting around that time where, the corrections are going to be over, and the bigger trend, the monthly, weekly trend is going to start taking over again. So anything else you're particularly watching this week, Barry?
S&P for sure, because we're barreling down this path, looking to see if the ABCD comes through or if we're going to hold up in this area. Bonds I'm watching because it's still in a downtrend, looking to see where we might find resistance up here. And I might post a couple of things next week on Twitter. I'm going to do some little extra work on that. And also gold is reaching up right up into resistance area to see if we can, if it's a fake, we're going to go up there and just tap out, or we're going to go higher.
Right.
And of course, the dollar, we'll see how it consolidates next week. Yeah, those are kind of pretty much everything, the big five you got to watch. Copper, not so much, because we're going sideways. So it's the other things. Crude also, you got to keep an eye on it. But it hasn't, we need some kind of a move before to do anything actionable there. So,
yeah, it's keeping an eye on it to make sure you don't miss, it doesn't slip out the back door on you, right? That we see it when it goes. All right. Well, listen, everybody, have a great week. The activity is definitely picking up. Let's see what the weekend headlines bring with this, Silicon Valley Bank nonsense. And based on that, there's going to be emotional moves in the market. So we're ready. We know the levels, watch the levels, use the levels, and it can help you take the emotion out of it. So have a great week, everybody. Have a great week, Barry.
Thanks, Ben.